Hello and welcome to yet another rousing round of Boise State Esports. Tonight we have a stellar lineup for you, little League of Legends in our very near future. My name is Adam Chisu McGuire. I'm joined by the ever so lovely Glovely. Thank you so much for joining me today, sir.
Glad to be here, and hopefully my Wi-Fi won't give out halfway through.
Hey, if it happens, we'll figure it out. Everything's going to be just fine. Don't you worry. But tonight, we got the Zotac Cup, as Boise State will be taking on a slew of opponents looking to hoist said Zotac Cup. And Glovely, what kind of things can we come to expect as far as today is concerned? How have things been for the Boise State League of Legends crew?
Well, I've been looking at the meta and, of course, the new patches as they come out. Fiddlesticks, I think, might be a very big competitor at the very least because people aren't used to his new kit yet. So that's either going to be one of those situations where I don't know how to play against this champion yet, or right. I don't know how to play this champion yet. So he could swing very hard either way with those new mechanics. I'm especially excited to see what happens when he lands that new ultimate, or rather the same ultimate but with a new fear effect onto multiple members of the enemy team. And let me tell you, clearing him in the jungle is pretty crazy, especially once he gets rolling.
Well, and we've seen him pretty much everywhere, from a mid lane to a support to the jungle, like you mentioned. I spied him in the top lane. He's a very interesting, change from where he was as far as character reworks are concerned. He's kind of the same. People will need to be aware as observers, more than anything else, of his trinket item, if you will. The fact that he can place those scarecrows around, which is another thing to keep in mind. So you're absolutely correct. Fiddlesticks is one of those ones you have to watch out for, and I'm very much hoping that we can see him. Anything else on the forefront of your mind?
I feel like a lot of the champions are going to be very similar in what we see. I don't think that we're likely to see Garen. He did get some nerfs this patch, so unfortunately that's not going to happen, most likely. But looking at the other champions, there's not a whole lot of champions that were really heavily affected by the most recent changes. So fairly standard meta. It's mostly going to be, what can we do? Fiddlesticks is really the biggest change. How does he affect the meta? What is he going to do to shake things up? Is he going to be strong in any of these lanes?
All righty, man. Well, we are jumping into the picks and bans, and we'll get those nameplates changed here in just a little bit. Tonight, Boise State University versus Crew, at least the name I was given. And our squad. Squad, my bad. Thank you, production. Love you. Ghostman 914, Electric Shock, Tyler Gaming 12, Kid Diaz, as well as M3R. Oh, it's Murderer. But that is the side for squad. And then, of course, you are seeing on the other side, Lelouch, the Demon Cried, as well as Tai Gao Lam, 80 Carry, and Shrubby Turtle 01. And this is a best of one round, so every game is going to matter 100%. Not that, some games don't matter, but you know what I'm getting at when it comes to that. As far as bans are concerned, we're seeing the Yuumi. Nobody wants to deal with that kitty cat, and set almost an immediate permaban no matter where you are playing, no matter what elo. Yasuo and Jinx going to be removed there. Glovely, what do you think about those immediate pulls?
So Yasuo, generally the kind of thing that we see banned away from Red Hots in our experience, but he is a very powerful laner. If he finds one big ultimate, he can completely turn a team fight around. Looks like we're gonna...
Oh yeah, let's do it again!
Here we go, from the beginning, everybody. This is gonna be
just
fun.
Kidding. That happens. All
But
right.
Yasuo and
Anyways,
Six are both champions that can become these big hyper carries if they get ahead. Veigar actually very similar in that vein. They have the ability to, once they start rolling, they just snowball super hard. So trying to get those snowball champs away from the squad, it might be the kind of thing that they're known for running with some sort of hyper carry protection composition.
absolutely, and you see there Veigar and Fizz going to be removed as well, meaning that Fiddlesticks we were talking about is still up, but the priority going to be over on the Mordekaiser and an immediate Fiora lock-in. As far as that is concerned, I have a feeling if Lelouch is the top lane, if these are to be assumed the roles, Fiora into that Mordekaiser. How's that matchup look to you there?
Personally, I really like the Mordekaiser in that matchup, although I have seen what a Fiora can do if she does get ahead. The big thing is it's a 1v1 champion. That's all Fiora. That's everything she loves. So if you lock her down into Mordekaiser's ultimate, that really benefits her, especially if Mordekaiser hasn't had the opportunity to get ahead. Bard going to be the lock-in for squad now as they are hovering the Akali. I do believe they are likely to lock that in. She is still a very powerful champion in spite of Riot's attempts to nerf her.
Yeah, and it looks like Akali could be an interesting pick here, but the Diana, also a very, very powerful mid lane pick, could go in jungle, but we've been seeing her more in the mid than anything else. Jarvan picked up for the jungle side of Boise State University, so we'll see how that unfolds for them. Again, Jarvan just super quick, can get where he needs to, especially when it comes towards the late game. He has the mobility as well as the lockdown that you're really looking for in this hard engage comp that we're already seeing. Fiora's going to have to snowball right in. Jarvan can help that out, and if they're looking at the Rise, he can lock them down and just pump out absurd amount of damage. Just kidding, Akali last minute, so furthering that highly aggressive team lineup.
Yeah, and I do like what they've got going there with the Jarvan and the Akali. They have the ability to very quickly roam from lane to lane. Fiora is, of course, that duelist in the top lane. Not going to have issues against Mordekaiser early on unless Mordekaiser somehow gets ahead. So they are going to have to be careful as to whatever squad picks for their jungler here. The Diana is a possible jungler, but it's possible that she's going mid lane and they have some other options up as well.
You're going to get rid of the Xayah there, a good choice, as Squad is still looking for their ADC. Senna, no real surprises there. One of those champions that either goes amazing or absolutely terrible. Caitlyn with her range and her traps. Again, maybe not the removal I would have thought, which would probably bring us to some of the more powerful picks on the side of Boise State. Draven going to be removed as well. We are not getting any Whirling Blades this time around.
Yeah, there's a lot of these champions that are very snowbally hyper carries that were taken off the table. We did see, however, that Rise come up earlier. It's entirely possible Squad could end up picking that up. Kaisa, another champion that could snowball very hard, but Misfortune also being hovered here. Looks like they're gonna ultimately lock in that Kaisa. So probably looking for one last support. There's a lot of good crowd control up on the table. Nautilus, Leona, a lot of stuff to set her up and get her going.
And that even furthers the hard engage mechanics we were kind of talking about earlier. Nautilus being the high priority, Leona being my favorite champion in the game, if I had to be so honest. Still have things like Alistar and Thresh that could also follow that up, that also have those engage mechanics as well. I'm curious to see that since the Bard has already been picked, how they go about this. The Jhin curtain call is always phenomenal, not to mention as you're throwing out those Lotuses, you're capable of getting kind of some extra vision in your lane. Also, the secondary lockdown for these champions who have to be very mobile. That Jhin pick actually ends up being pretty solid. And as far as the blind monk Lee Sin, we've already passed April 1st, which was around when they did the Lee Sin spotlight. Very predominant jungle. And again, one of those coin flip scenarios. You either know what you're doing, you ward hop and dragon kick, or you just, feed for 20 minutes. And Thresh, like I said, the other selection there. So, Glovely, what are you seeing as we move forward for the squad side of things?
Looking over at Squad, what they've drafted is, I'm a little worried about their composition. Not only do they have the danger of that Mordekaiser 1v1 with the Fiora, but while they do have the roam potential, Jhin isn't the kind of champion who's really able to roam with the Bard. He kind of has to sit behind in the lane, and as a result, he's going to be very unsafe, especially in the face of a very aggressive bot lane coming from the Kaisa and the Thresh. So that's something that Squad needs to be aware of. If they're going to roam, they need to do it smartly through their jungler support and mid lane, but they need to do it without giving up pressure in their side lanes. On the other hand, looking over at the side of Boise State, they've drafted a very, again, as we keep saying, very aggressive, very roam-heavy champion select. The only champion who doesn't really have the ability to roam as well is Fiora, and that's only because she's isolated up there in that top lane, which makes it a lot harder for her to pass on to the other lanes and get that pressure advantage. But we should still keep an eye on her. Top laners like to take teleport for many reasons.
Yeah, and we'll see how that unfolds. Again, Kaisa able to just killer instinct wherever she needs to be if she's able to hit that W. But again, the players are safe just like the rest of you should be here in the weirdest of times as far as the world is concerned. But as always, safety is the first priority. As far as like, I don't know, Glovely, what about you? Is it kind of like interesting or weird that, we're not like meeting up at the battle arena? Like, how has this changed your day-to-day?
I mean, honestly, what it's affected most is my sleep schedule. I'm having such a hard time keeping track of the days passing. I've been going to bed at like 4 in the morning and waking up at 11.
Yep. Gamer hours. As far as like I'm concerned, oh god. Yeah, absolutely. I've been playing a lot more games because I can't just, go out and be a responsible adult, if you will. My streaming catalog has just absolutely diminished here at this point. But again, safety is the biggest priority as far as things are concerned. And so the players playing from the domiciles of their choice as we broadcast from our little safe spaces. And again, Glovely, I'm super, super glad you're here. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us, not only on Twitch, but wherever you might be tuning in from. And yes, like I said, I do have a pen ready to throw if need be the case. And Glovely, this is the time where we typically pass it off to you. We talk about the analytical side of things. Where do you see the priority for both of these teams? Is it a typical bottom lane, there's more people, that's the damage side, or do you see something else possibly happening here?
I think top lane is actually where a lot of the focus needs to be for both of these teams, because that 1v1 is going to be hugely important as the game carries on. If Mordekaiser gets ahead, he singles out a crucial target and just deletes them in that 1 versus 1. If Fiora gets ahead, she can take over a game, and that results in that situation where if Mordekaiser ults the Fiora, and she does have the potential to parry it, let's remember that as much.
Right.
But if she does end up getting caught by it, if she's ahead, she wins that 1v1, and not only did you just lose your Mordekaiser, but you lost him in the middle of an important team fight, and now there's a Fiora charging through your entire team.
Well, and one of the things I was noticing kind of, and this, it's going to be kind of hard to explain, but there's a lot of like AoE potential on the side of Squad, from the Bard ultimate to the Mordekaiser and the way that he uses his abilities. And then, Lee Sin has a little bit of that, but I am curious to see how these teams fights go once we get to that point, because when it comes to objective control, how many times have you seen a Mordekaiser just lock onto the jungler so they can't smite? Whether or not he wins that fight, it doesn't matter. They pick up that objective. A good portion of the time he's going to, however. So I'm curious to see the Mordekaiser interactions with, the jungle in particular, that Jarvan, who's very aggressive and sets up quite a few plays for the side of Boise State University.
Absolutely, and for that matter, the Quicksilver Sash. How many members of Boise State are going to be willing to pay that tax, that additional gold cost, just so that Mordekaiser doesn't trap them down, lock them away? Because like you said, he can lock away a jungler and prevent them from taking a major objective. So in that scenario, does the jungler try to rush that QSS early? I mean, the magic resist is certainly useful, but it's not going to be as powerful as an item for the rest of his ganks.
Absolutely, and like you said, the tax is going to be based on the individuals, so we'll see. I mean, a scimitar's pretty cool too. I mean, you could pick that up at some point in time if you really want to, but I do believe that the mobility here for Boise State University is going to prove pivotal. You've got Akali's ability to jump on in. Her Shroud's certainly going to help her not be targeted for that half second or two. And then again, Fiora, if she can get ahead like you were mentioning, will just absolutely decimate everything in her path. Thresh has the ability to zone out, especially if he can land the death sentence, and the mobility buffer there being the lantern. Throw it into a direction. Not only is it meant to save, but it can set up some really crafty plays here. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I'm going to keep my eyes there on the mid lane just to kind of see how that works. Akali's one of those ones where 6 months ago I would have told you, oh my goodness, she is absolutely shattered. The world is on fire. Why did you let that through? Recently, not so much the case as far as like how the nerfs have come through over the last handful of patches. And so that is always something that you probably should keep your eyes on as far as the game unfolding, is if there's a lot of they need to get ahead champions on the side of Boise State.
Yeah, and I do think that mid lane matchup, as you pointed out, is going to be crucial for both sides. Really, I don't think there's a lane that couldn't hugely take over the game. But the Diana Akali especially have the ability to roam and help the other lanes. So if one of them gets ahead of the other, they have the potential to then push the other lanes ahead of each other and just snowball that into a major lead for their team.
Absolutely. Glovely, are you ready?
I'm ready as I'm gonna be.
It's game time, my friend, as we head into the Zotac Cup. Boise State versus Squad, and there are our beautiful faces. Look at that. That's awesome. I love it.
Fancy.
That's production quality right there. Allegedly.
Quality production, too.
I know, right?
We're getting now into the beginning of the game. It looks like pretty standard loadouts for pretty much everyone here. Looks like Jin has gone with the fleet footwork just for the safety, keeping himself safe in the lane, which is a good idea when you're up against champions who really want to just burst you down in the moment they catch you out while your teammate is roaming. One thing that I do think is worth pointing out is that the Electric Shock has taken Omnistone, which is a very rare keystone mastery on most champions, and for good reason. It's very difficult when you can't control exactly what's happening, so we'll keep an eye on exactly what keystone he's running at any given time. Right now, he's looking like he's running fleet footwork, just like his lane partner.
Well, and no surprises, there's also just an absurd amount of Conqueror. Apparently, that's just the rune you run. It's like when you're playing ARAMs, you play Dark Harvest. Apparently, in Summoner's Rift, you just run Conqueror these days. So, no real surprises. I am curious to see how this Hail of Blades works on AD carry. I'm not sure if that's Night carry of the Boise State Squad, just with a different name. But have not really seen that one. Okay, it is Night carry. Did change his name. Okay, so in that instance, we'll see what he is capable of doing. We've definitely seen it quite a bit here as the mid laners exchange some blows. A little bit of a kunai to the face there. Tyler is going to take a chunk of damage, but a good exchange nonetheless, if I were to be so candid. Right off the bat, you do see that this Lee Sin is capable of clearing just a smidgen faster than the Jarvan, and we do have some early aggression here on the bottom side. Fair trade, fair play, no blood, no foul.
One thing to keep in mind is that in some of these lane matchups, we have situations where there are chances with mana against champions who don't have mana. So that heavily favors them in terms of their ability to sustain. We now see Miss Akali really bullying out Tyler Gaming. He's forced to back away, take a tower shot, but here goes the dive in back. Great trade in response. Both of them with really low health bars now. But we do have to remember that Akali doesn't have to worry about mana, and the same is true for Ghostman and Mordekaiser up in that top lane. So that might be something that can swing these matchups.
Oh, and it looks like a bit of counter jungling already happening here from the side of Boise State University. And a lot of damage coming out, but here's the Shroud. Zygout Lamb going in, the Ignite. He's got the ult. No, not the ult, but is going to get the first blood as he is able to pump out enough damage. But the tick-tock of the clock is painful right there for the Akali. She will fall to the Ignite, but Lelouch not going to relent. Oh, by the way, I've got a Jarvan with me as well. Flag and Drag is good. Lelouch with a final hit, taking out Ghostman in the top lane. And that is going to certainly help this Fiora.
Absolutely. Already a slight CS lead, but that kill is going to be hugely important because if Fiora starts winning those 1v1s up in the top lane, there's not going to be much Mordekaiser can really do until the team fighting phase starts, and by then he'll already be so far behind.
Yeah, and this Fiora is just going to push the wave and continue to aggress, leaving him underneath the tower the best way possible at that point. It's kind of the lane dream, is making sure that your opponent has to be more aware of their CS than necessarily your presence, and just keeping your eyes open on the jungler side of things. Death Sentence is going to come through. AD Carry is going to put out a serious amount of damage. A Flash is burned, and Electrocute is the stone that he has picked here. But AD Carry, looking to put some more damage onto Kid Diaz, is continuing to do so. All of these stacks and a shot there on the Thresh is not going to be enough to kill as the W comes through, and it looks like Demon Cryad is eyeballing the mid. He's going to find Tyler Gaming, burning another Flash, an absolute pivotal summoner spell, as there is so much action. The Kid, oh wow, the Kid Diaz flashes in, thought he had the kill, is not going to be able to, as they believe the heal, yes, came out there from AD Carry.
We're already seeing the effect of this Jarvan and the early game pressure he can put on the map now as we see Electric Shock go underneath the tower and end up going down to AD Carry. Teleport, however, is coming in from the top lane. Here comes Fiora. Is she going to be enough to swing things around? Flash comes out. She does manage to put down a lot of damage now, but it looks like they're going to get away with their lives just barely.
Oh, and meanwhile, Thigao Lamb is going to put more damage there on that Diana. Boise State University is being absolutely relentless like we assumed they would. A great flay underneath the tower, a very interesting magical journey there from the Bard, allowed Boise State to pick up yet another kill there. 1-3 here, 5 minutes in.
We're really seeing the power and pressure that this Jarvan can put out across the map. He's already ganked 3 different lanes in just a matter of minutes. And got a kill in one, and set up another kill in another one, and got a flash in a third. Really putting pressure out there now, even as he's just holding the lane for Lelouch so that he can get back.
Yeah, and you notice that all but one of the flashes are removed there from Squad. You take a look over at Boise State. A little bit of a different story, as not only the jungler, but both the bottom laners still have their flashes. Only burning the heal. Death sentence comes through, is going to Whifferino. You know, it happens. You got plenty of other opportunities there, Turtle, so maybe he'll hit 1 or 2 others. Again, looking at the CS, you definitely notice that the Kai'Sa is far ahead. Akali far ahead. Jungle ahead. Everything for Boise State is going well. You're seeing a 2,000 gold difference at 6 minutes.
Yeah, Squad really needs to find their way back into the game. We haven't seen Lee Sin out on the map yet. Hasn't really put any pressure out for his team, despite being a powerful early game jungler. If he can find an opening here, he could potentially turn things around.
That is certainly the case, and that's always the wild card, factoid as far as jungle is concerned. All it takes is 1, possibly 2 really good setups. Oh, wow, a lot of damage coming out there from AD Carry. Not going to be able to land the binding is Electric Shock as they walk over the Lotus. Another follow-through. That's going to be the stun as AD Carry takes a sizable amount of damage there. Here comes the Lantern, in comes the Flash, and there is the play. The rest of Boise State will clean this up. Actually, Kid Diaz going to find one. Will he fall here is the question as we take a look in the top lane. Here comes that Lee Sin. He is going to land the Q. He's going to follow through, but Fiora says bye-bye as she peels back into her own tower. Boise State gets the advantage there, although they do trade 1 for 1.
Yeah, slight misplay there, losing one of their team members, but hey, trading 1 for 1 in the early game when there's not a whole lot of eliminations on the map, generally just fine. You're not going to lose your game over that, and now they have priority over this dragon.
Absolutely, they saw that Lee Sin was top. They also have an idea that he is here in the mid lane, I believe. Actually, there is no vision, so Thigao Lamb is just, playing it as one would. There it is. The back was going to happen, but the Drake picked up there from Boise State University, and a Mountain at that. Meanwhile, Lelouch is just doing work here in the top side, trying to proc those critical spots as Thigao Lamb continues to fight here in the mid lane, but a rotation here from Turtle could spell disaster. Nothing really going to happen here. Looking more just to kind of clear out vision as Lelouch actually going to rotate down too. A little bit of a late rotation there from Boise State University, but it is what it is.
We're now getting about 7.5 minutes into the game. We can see that AD Carry has picked up his Muramana, so that's the first major item for that champion. Gonna start really stacking that up and getting scarier as the game goes on. Now able to spam those abilities in lane. We do see an engagement there in the mid lane though.
Oh, what a great death sentence as the Diana's going to be locked up. The play comes through, as well as the Akali, but an awesome ultimate is going to pull them under tower. Thigao Lamb thought he had it all, but instead has nothing. But in comes the Jarvan. Cataclysm. Shabby Turtle is going to take that for his crew. The curtain call comes out. The flash, the smite for that matter, as it looks like the Lee Sin tries to make something happen, but the Demon Cried is going to be able to pick that one up. But the bottom lane of the side of Squad has made their rotation. Another magical journey coming through. This time Shabby Turtle is going to head north, and he has the Fiora there if need be the case. Mordekaiser going to be there, but too late. This does give them priority over Rift if they do want it. They apparently would rather get the CS.
Yeah, no, they have multiple members. They have multiple members across all the lanes, so they do still have the wave pressure, even though they ended up having to retreat there in that situation. So overall, map definitely favoring Boise State here, as now we see Fiora go in underneath the tower. Lelouch picks up Ghostman. There's no running from that.
Bye. Repost to the dead post. I don't even know what I was saying there, but it sounded cool. That's the thing that we were talking about, is that as soon as this Fiora gets out of control, it doesn't take much to make her an absolute Goliath. So very good moves there. A one-on-one kill. There's not much you can do. By the way, I'm taking some plates while I'm at it.
Yeah, we're seeing just what happens when you have a duelist like Fiora who gets this far ahead into the Mordekaiser. Now we have Akali Thaiga Lem going in hard onto this Lee Sin, puts down a lot of damage, procs the passive and walks away.
2v1, but the bottom is rotating up on the side of Squad. They are going to walk over a pink ward, so Thaiga Lamb knows to get out of there. Meanwhile, Kaisa and Thresh will continue to push, probably finding themselves the recipients of one more plate. But the question is, how are they going to turn this fight? Mid lane starting to rotate now as well. The ultimate does come through. The magical journey. There is a pretty good play. Death sentence as well. The stuns are coming out. Killer instinct is good, as it looks like electric shock going to burn the heel there, as it looks like he's going to go down to Shrubby Turtle. And now it's an ADC support versus 2, as Turtle is just looking to get out of there the best of his ability, but a great play, the stun, and the moves from Kid Diaz will secure another one from him. 3-1-0 there, and starting to continue that snowball ADC roll. But as we have the Demon Cried in the top side, this Mordekaiser going to be dropped down. This is what we were talking about. The Shadow Realm is coming through. The Demon Cried, not nearly as strong as the Fiora is going to have to hold on for as long as possible. Uses the brush for a great move, and now Lelouch, all he has to do is smile, and that Mordekaiser goes down. But we still have a fight here in the mid lane. No shortage of action, no matter which lane you are looking at. Thaiga Lamb going to be able to get out of there pretty easy.
Looking at Squad's lineup and how they've been playing this game so far, they really need to play through their mid lane. This Diana has been doing a great job of roaming down to the other lanes, picking up eliminations there, so you don't have to win that 1 versus 1 against Akali. Meanwhile, Rift Herald drops in the top lane, takes another tower, charges at a second, and looks like that's where the Rift Herald is going to meet its end, but they might pick up a kill. Lelouch goes in, Cataclysm comes down, not able to finish it, but the Grand Challenge does finish, so Lelouch is going to pick up the elimination there.
Lelouch, you don't have to be that mean. Death Sentence comes through, and that Bard is locked down. Tons of damage being put out there by AD Carry, as it looks like the mid lane is going to now join the top side. A jump on in there. The Demon Cried should be able to get out of this with the Blast Cone, if not the Flag and Drag, going to opt for the one that saves him the mana there. Bottom lane able to continue to push this out. Cannon with the Relic Shield will give them a little bit more gold. They could be looking for a third plate here, probably not going to get it, but Boise State University looking so good, and the gold lead reflects that as well. Squad does have opportunities, but so far that opportunity is going to be thwarted by the top laner Fiora.
Yeah, they really need to take the best advantage that they can of that Diana, who has been doing a great job putting things out. They have been putting a lot of gold into their bot lane, 3-1-0 on that Jhin for Kid Diaz. So he does have the potential to start really taking things over, but he hasn't found any opportunities. He doesn't really have a lot of safety in the face of so many champions that can just aggress and dive on top of him.
Ooh, sneaky gank possibility here as Murderer is going to find the Thresh. He's still pretty tanky though. Death Sentence is going to come through, and now the Jarvan wants to party. 80 Carry finds 1, as well as a 2. Can he get the trip ado? He's going to Killer Instinct in 1 and 2. Oh, no, Demon Cried Psych is going to take that from him. Kunai out and is going to have fancy feet there. It looks like Thaiga Lamb wants to go 2v1. Jumps into the Shroud, is trying to get out. The Q, the Ignite, the health is going down. Another ultimate in. Can he do it? He's found 1. Opportunities for 2 here in the Death Realm. He does double kill there for Boise State. Thaiga Lamb fears no man, woman, and or child, depending on which character he's playing against.
That was something, but Boise State is going to take the dragon. That is infernal for them. The Oceans bring life now, as the Ocean Dragon will be the 3rd and only remaining elemental drakes that we will see here on the Rift. So we're going to see extra bushes, we're going to see additional plant life popping up for healing, and of course that sweet, sweet health regeneration on the Ocean Dragon is now available. Stacking up 4 of those could be a win condition for Squad if they can find it. We do see the curtain is now being called here on the bottom lane. Fires 2, fires 3, 4th shot. Does manage to chunk down some damage from Shrubby Turtle, but not able to completely finish the job.
Thaiga Lamb is more than willing to take that mid-fight again. Just looking super solid from Boise State, up 10 kills and what, 11,000 now at this point. So that's pretty good stuff. That, wow, so much damage pumped out in just such a little amount of time from the Fiora, and she's even eyeballing the turret, even going to take a turret shot just to BM it up, but jumps right on in under tower, hits the jungler as well. So those 2 individuals from the top lane are going to be pushed out, but you see the ping, mid lane could rotate. Whether or not it'll help, it will be the question. Demon Cried going to burn the flash, but still die, but at least it went on the support.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, lose a elimination, you may as well hand it over to that support. Lelouch now has caught out Tyler Gaming. This could be a big, devastating problem now for Squad. And it looks like he is gonna finish the Grand Challenge. One little bop. There we go. Now he's on to Ghostman. Unfortunately, Ghostman is so far behind at this point. 0-4-0. Double kill over to Lelouch. He's gonna pick that up and continue to pressure the wave.
How big is Lelouch's backpack right now? It's like the first day of school. He's got a brand new Power Ranger satchel, and it's like, hey guys, jump on in. As he is currently 6-0. Already has his Hydra finished up at this point, and the rest of his team is following suit. You see Thigao Lam going to be jumping in under tower, dealing another large amount of damage. That tower is going to fall. In comes the resonating strike. Oh, by the way, my Qs do so much more damage as Thigao Lam picks up that 1v1 as well as a tower.
Yeah, Squad just really isn't durable enough to be able to survive these engages from the side of Boise State. Their super aggressive team here has the ability to just jump in on any target they find and blow them up.
And that was what we were talking about, is that Boise State did not want to slow down in any way, shape, or form. They wanted to come out hot and aggressive. And they are doing just that, as the bottom lane going to rotate up, give that red over to the AD carry, known as AD carry with a K. Lelouch is just going to continue to push and thwart any kind of resistance that they find here on the top side, as you continue to see. Just unrelenting. Not only is the damage ridiculous on the side of this Fiora, but not taking any damage in the process is also crazy. The riposte does so much damage. Looking for another vital proc, is going to get it. The double kill, double tower shots, and still doing okay. The Ignite might be enough. It is, but it looks like the Lee going to be accredited with that.
Yeah, that shutdown gold is pretty big. It's 1,000 gold going over. Shrubby Turtle's been caught out by the Tempered Fate. He's not going to be able to go anywhere. Stand up against the wall, but AD carry is still there. He's still alive. Tosses out the death sentence. Doesn't manage to find a target with it. So they are going to back off a little bit. But surviving through all of that crowd control really just goes to show how far behind the Squad lineup is.
Well, not only that, but Boise State is doing a phenomenal job just using what I refer to as the fancy feet, dodging everything, using their mobility spells not only in the aggressive nature that we were talking about, but also a defensive side. Right there, you see the Kaista actually jump out. Don't be surprised, Killer Instinct to the Q, Flash, it is going to come through. AD carry, it has the Killer Instinct inside for the double, and Ignite is down, but on a different member of the Boise State crew, as it looks like he's going to run face checking into a Diana. Lee Sin will find the support, so a 2-for-2 exchange, but it was a 2 versus 4 if you put those numbers together.
All the same, however, we have to remember that that was a lot of gold now being handed over to the side of Squad. They could find this as their opportunity for a comeback, but Ghostman is just getting melted here. Just a little boop. Goodbye. Grand Challenge heals Fiora up as she backs away. Lee Sin, I'm not sure you want to go in there, buddy. He goes into a 2 versus 1.
Oh my goodness.
But it is
all of the members of Squad are
there.
He's able to 1v4 and still take 2 with him. So, you know, we take those, I believe, is what we're looking for. Just so far ahead, 10-2. But you're right, Glovely, there is so much gold that was handed over. This could give a little bit of a pulse to the side of Squad. However, that gold lead, pretty big, as another one of their turrets goes down.
We also see that the Ocean Drake is now spawning, and Boise State has complete control over this. There's not even vision from the side of Squad here in the pit. This Dragon, unfortunately for Squad, looks like it's going to go uncontested unless they can get a seriously lucky curtain call into the pit. Meanwhile, Thigao Lam finds out Tyler Gaming. There's the Gunblade. Thigao Lam cleans him up easily.
For as scary as the Fiora was, you also have to acknowledge that the Sakali is doing exactly what we talked about. As you see, chunking every single individual. Oh no, locks down the Mordekaiser. Could save her life. A flash out as it looks like AD Carry gonna pick up 1, gonna pick up 2. There could be a serious amount of Cataclysm in. Mystical Journey is only going to delay the inevitable. The triple, he could get the quad here. He's got one more shot. Now Quadra going over to AD Carry. Absolutely disrespectful, and is able to clutch this up. Oh, by the way, here comes the Shelly, and she could be eyeballing not only your inhibitor, but your Nexus turrets as well.
Yeah, hey, maybe we'll get to see that special animation that plays whenever Shelly is standing next to a Nexus whenever it blows up. But looks like we're not going to see that quite yet. They are going to be able to take down the first turret. Shelly has one more charge in her as Lelouch gets pulled into the Shadow Realm here. It's going to be caught out underneath the tower. The box comes down to create pressure for his team. But again, Lelouch so far ahead, 10 and 2 on this champion now as the curtain calls out. But looks like we do get to see Shelly's little dance.
Not unusual to be loved by anyone. That's the song that Shelly would be dancing to. It's based on the Carlton dance from the Fresh Prince. Anyways, that makes me old. Anyways, as we jump into this, Boise State finds game number 1 against Squad. I thought I said it was a best of 1, so sorry. I'm used to casting series. So, Glovely, we said they were going to do it. And they did it. Boise State coming out with the hyper-aggressive champions and finding wins in those predominant lanes, not only in top and in mid, but the bottom lane also substantially did a large chunk of damage. Night Carry finding himself a quad.
Yeah, and we look across all of Boise State's lanes, and all of them got ahead, but I really want to give credit, especially to the jungler, the Demon Cried, because of his ability to roam and set up his lanes. That's why they were able to get ahead so quickly. He burned flashes, he picked up kills for his team. He put so much pressure on the map that it just snowballed his team into the lead, because once they had those advantages, they were able to push them and take objectives and take eliminations and just be unstoppable in their lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. And from rumor, as far as production is concerned, we have one of these very infamous top 5s that we'll get to here in a little bit. But first, we wanted to show you one of the little things that I guess we did, the other... Oh, no, this is it, actually. An Aces Coaches and Directors Derby. So you see Boise State going to win over Squad. Never mind, just kidding, as production is going to give me the old psych, psych, psych. So we'll see what the follow-up is. This is the bracket. Okay, so to win and UC San Diego also there in the Final Four. So Boise State should be moving on from my understanding. Little fun factoid here, Glovely. The original team that was supposed to play Boise State in that first round, Oreo, is not from North America, and this is a North American tournament. So they got kind of a free buy into that, as did Squad. So, nothing doing either way.
Well, I think during just the current events that are going on, sometimes the schools just can't gather together their teams as a result because they're so isolated, or they just don't have access to the technology that they need to be able to play together. So, of course, you got to fill in that stuff whenever you need to fill in space for a tournament. Sometimes you call in stuff, although production is mentioning that these folks don't even have access to American citizenship. So we'll see how well we did see how well they did in this tournament. Boise State ultimately taking the win over them, but we still have UC San Diego and Intowin preparing to take each other on. We'll find out who the winner of that is in the following game. But first,
and we're going to take...
go
ahead. Well, we're going to jump here into the top 5 plays. Apparently. Sorry, this half-second delay. Glovely, I just want to high-five you and talk about video games. Let's get some top 5 plays brought to you by the Army National Guard. We'll take a look here. As it looks like, yes, 80 carry on the bottom side with this Thresh here. Again, moving on out. Gonna just use the W and Killer Instinct in. And then this is that one that ended up being a 2v4 after all was said and done. But a double kill there from 80 carry.
Yeah, a little bit of an aggressive dive there does end up costing both of them. But they had the power to be able to make those big plays. Because they had pushed so far ahead. Now we see here in the mid lane, Chubby Turtle stays alive for so long, and look at the way that they just zone off and eliminate key members here. And as a result, the Thresh manages to get away despite being in the face of 2. They even pick up 2 eliminations along the way. They walk away here from the roaming up bot lane. Mordekaiser not able to come down and help in time.
And as far as play number 3 is concerned, no surprise here as Lelouch opens up that satchel we were talking about and says, "Come all ye faithful," and it leads everyone to the promised land here, as not only does he find the mid laner Diana, but also, as pretty much was the story, bodies that Mordekaiser as well, and even just stands there. That's the S key. He's holding it.
Yeah, the only time he ever died was not in a 1v1, but we also see now here in this mid lane, Vigalem was also incredibly impressive up against 2 members here. I believe he ends up surviving this trade here, despite getting pulled into the Death Realm. Just at that point, the Akali, he didn't even have a whole bunch of kills, just really smart play. One more play to go.
And as we see, this is probably the quad coming through. There's the double there from AD carry, opens up, and then this shot right here to the Killer Instinct. Auto stacks, as well as one more. That's the quad for AD carry, and that was pretty much the death knell for squad as Boise State finds themselves moving on. Again, the top 5 brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard. They'll have themselves a little bit of a Call of Duty Modern Warfare gunfight tournament here in the very near future, and it looks like UC San Diego picked up the win over Inc. to win. I'm not too happy about that because I love me some Spider-Man. But hey, now we have ourselves 2 colleges going head-to-head as opposed to, I don't know, weird named teams that, might just be a bunch of friends who got together for this thing.
Now, one thing to remember is that San Diego was a team that we've played against before. We've matched up against them across various tournaments and even in regular play. So we know that they're a good team. This is not, some run-of-the-mill group of friends in their basement that we're going to be playing against here for these finals.
Well, and something also to note, this is just one half of the tournament bracket here. On the other side, unfortunately, I don't have that information ready and available, but this is just one piece of the overall puzzle that is the Zotac Cup. So Boise State fighting for that one final slot. If they get into the finals, they will be looking to hoist said Zotac Cup if given the opportunity. But as you mentioned, Glovely, UC San Diego, very strong, very dominant team. And both of these teams know each other quite well, so we'll see if they have learned, although this is a little bit of a different squad than what Boise State normally serves up, if you will.
So now we're going into pro draft, it looks like. Wukong, Olaf Orn banned away by San Diego, while Volibear, Misfortune, and Tarek blocked by Boise State. San Diego picks up Renekton for their first champion pick. That signals to me a very early, very aggressive top lane.
Do you just go with the Fiora on this one again because it worked out so well? I'm surprised they didn't ban that out. You think the Renekton pick is that strong of a counter?
It's possible they just didn't see the game. I mean, these games were being played a lot simultaneously, so it looks like Caitlyn is going to be the pickup for Boise State for their first champion. Very similar look to that Jin, and Jenna are going to be locked in, so very poke-oriented bot lane, very good at bullying out other champions just because they have so much of a range advantage.
Well, and I'm curious to see, I mean, obviously, it's possible that ends up being the, support Senna build, and it's one of those things where we've seen her run as an ADC with a harder support on the bottom. That has kind of gone way of the dodo, so curious to see what the build order is going to be there on, I'm assuming we'll see the, wow, I can't remember, the Spectral Glaive, I think is what it's called, the item that removes vision on the map, but we'll have to see as the game unfolds. Rek'Sai going to be picked up after the Renekton, and then Ezreal the Hover here, a lot of mobility, a lot of poke potential, which would go really well with what looks to be a very hard engaged team on the side of San Diego.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you can do when you're playing those more aggressive styles of play. With your AD carry, you don't want to pick something that's really immobile like an Ashe. You need someone who can jump in there with you. Looks like Boise State's going to pick up Vladimir. Very safe, can go either top lane or mid, so that is a flex pick that they can potentially wield. Braum going to be their ban for the round.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Vladimir's a top lane counter pick. Again, you mentioned he could go mid, so we'll see. Again, in the hands of Thagao Lam, who knows, and Lelouch, he also opened up. So instead of maybe playing a all-engaged melee champion, he can play one of those poke-oriented mages as well. So we'll see who that ends up being in the hands of. Camille is the hover ban there. They are going to remove that. No hook shots, no Hextech ultimatums going to be brought out as Boise State decides maybe Nautilus. Yes, the Deep Sea Diver is going to be removed. One final ban for the side of UC San Diego, and there are many opportunities here, and Sejuani, not a bad pick if I had to be so candid. It's going to help with that counter on the Rek'Sai. It leaves open plenty of opportunities. They could just pick up the Jarvan here again to counter that.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Sejuani is a great champion for enabling those engages for their side, but Boise State also needs a way to engage, and Jarvan with the Flag and Drag is a great champion to enable them to get into these fights, as well as potentially lock down the various members of San Diego, but they do all have abilities to get out of the Cataclysm, so maybe a bit of a questionable choice there as far as the scaling goes. Rumble being hovered here for San Diego.
And the Rumble Equalizer is one of those things that we've seen not only in pro play, but otherwise that has just really spiked in popularity in the last patch or two. The way that the damage is dealt, the way that he's able to just run in like a wrecking ball of sorts and just literally melt the opposing team has been a serious point of contention for some of these teams. So I like that pick. I'm assuming it's going to end up in the mid lane, but again, that's just me assuming. As the Renekton will go into the top. And oh my goodness, someone let the pretty kitty through, one of the most annoying champions as far as this game is concerned. And that's just not my opinion. That's pretty much everyone's.
I honestly don't think Yuumi is that big of a threat. Certainly, she provides a lot of power to whatever laner she is sitting on top of. But she's also very reliant on that laner, and if that laner gets caught out in a bad position for Yuumi, she's also gone, and then you've given 2 eliminations over to the other side. Lucian going to be the final pickup for Boise State. Very strange choice. I'm assuming that it's going to go either mid or top, potentially as an answer to the Renekton or the Rumble. Does have a lot of mobility and aggression that he can put forth into his kit.
Yeah, and you see the champion's going to be locked in here. I am assuming that Lucian is going to go top. If I had to make like a weird kind of guess, well, actually, you know what? I can't. Between a Vladimir or a Lucian, who would you throw up there, Glovely?
Personally, I would throw up the Vladimir. I think he's a lot safer there in that early game. If Lucian gets caught out, certainly he can get blown up. He does have the ability to stay back and be relatively safe. It does look like Rumble is going to be the lock-in for that top lane into the Vladimir, so it's going to be Lucian Renekton mid lane.
Sorry, I had my thinky face on.
I personally favor the Vladimir. I'd rather have the Vlad up against the Renekton just because he can continuously heal himself. So even if the Renekton does go in, he can keep himself relatively safe and sustained. Lucian doesn't have that. Lucian's going to be reliant on potions or on buying himself an early Vamp Scepter just to be able to survive in the lane.
Well, and that was one of the things is that we have been seeing Renekton a little bit more in the mid lane. Typically, archaically, a very top lane oriented champion, if you will. So I'm a little surprised by the rotational change there. Putting the Rumble up in the top, though, is not the weirdest thing to ever happen. This draft is very obscure all throughout. Again, having the multiple ADCs, you've got a Senna, you've got a Caitlyn, you've got a Lucian. They've got so much range on top of, a Jarvan to jump on in there and do whatever he can. So very interested to see how this folds out for Boise State University. But as far as like meta overall team fight, I lean a little bit more towards the side of UC San Diego because of just call it a comfort thing. Call it, a more less cattywampus draft, I guess is how I'm going to go about that.
Well, one thing that I do like about San Diego is that when they go in, their entire team absolutely goes in. Yuumi follows along with whoever she goes with. Ezreal can jump forward. Rek'Sai, Renekton, both of them like to dive on top of people. So if they can get those solid engages onto targets, everybody's coming in. Someone's going to get blown up. On the other hand, looking at the side of Boise State, they really want to take things slower, but they don't have a lot of tools for their ability to disengage. Certainly, they have roots and they have traps, but you could step around traps. You can, the root takes a little bit of time before it manages to land on anyone. So I am a little concerned for the side of Boise State for their ability to disengage from the aggression that's been built into San Diego's team composition.
Yeah, and this is a best of one, so there is no opportunity for counter picks in a game number 2 scenario. There is no opportunity for you to rectify any kind of matchup changes. But we're going to take a look at Doc's keys to the game versus UC San Diego. Never take a fair fight. They're looking for the advantages. 2-on-2, 1-on-1, not enough. Don't get caught out. That's kind of League of Legends 101, and I definitely don't follow that rule ever. Fight where and when you want to. That's where communication comes in. That's where you need to trust your teammates and do what you think is right and hope to goodness that your team will follow. First Dragon, first Tower, the first of everything. They've picked up their first handful of games. Maybe they can continue on, but again, Doc's Keys to the Game brought to you by Boise State. I think I would consider that, it's the Boise State stream, so. Glovely, what do you think will be the catalyst for either one of these teams? Is it the long-range ADC kind of poke mechanics that these individuals have, or will it be that blow-up mechanic that you were talking about on the side of UC San Diego? Because if any single one of those members get caught out, they are going to be absolutely destroyed.
I think a lot of the game is going to be very dependent on what happens early on. If some of these champions on the side of Boise State, like the Caitlyn, like the Lucian, get ahead early in the game because they do have that early game power, then they do have the potential to basically shred opponents down before they're ever able to reach them. On the other hand, if San Diego's team composition gets ahead, let me tell you, early game Renekton is absolutely terrifying, and he's even worse when he carries 3 or 4 kills into the mid and late game.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we saw again with Lelouch in the last game on that Fiora. It only took 2 kills before that lane was already down to Nexus turrets. Renekton kind of the same, if not tankier, maybe not as much damage output, but has the ability to in and out as well as stun teams down. So I do believe, again, this is a best of 1, and I hear some pings, so we might be getting into the game here. The Zotac Cup League of Legends Tournament, Boise State versus UC San Diego. Unbelievably excited to see what this situation is. And a big old thank you to Kezi21 Savage. Thank you so much for stopping on in today. Message them if you want to be friends.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
All right, we're getting here onto the Rift. We have 30 seconds till the minions spawn. Looks like a pretty standard line of scrimmage here. Not looking at anything too crazy. Pretty standard masteries across the map. I know that there's some debate as far as Yuumi players go as to whether you should take Comet or Summon Airy. And personally, I like the Summon Airy myself. You don't get as much damage, but you do benefit from the shields that you're putting on yourself and your allies, as well as the fact that you can constantly proc it with your heal.
But it's also a kitty on top of a kitty, and that is just meta. And we all know League of Legends is nothing but meta, right, Glovely?
I mean, meta is a thing, I guess. I don't personally buy into it. I like to run Garen into whatever lane, and he is never meta, so...
You could, like, Season 3 buy a bunch of pots and some boots back when you could buy a bazillion of them. And, who cares about the meta? Meta is just subjective for my basic understanding of this game, as I have seen more than a handful of obscure builds and setups work out just fine. But Jarvan starting out blue, and it looks like the Rek'Sai starting out at Wolves. Then we'll be moving towards that blue, I am assuming, as we get into the early parts of these games. Don't quite have the items up, but they will come here in a second, as the nameplates are going to be changed here. Is AD Carry going to take a little bit of poke, but the Yuumi going to be able to kind of heal those wounds, if you will. Lick the wounds, there you go.
Yeah, Yuumi Ezreal is one of those great lane combinations because Yuumi doesn't have, it's very reliant on her team partner for safety, and Ezreal, a very safe laner, able to teleport, blink himself out of many different situations to keep himself alive, and then of course benefits in that early game. Not very strong early on, needs to get his tier before he really starts affecting the map here.
And it looks like, sizable amount of damage. Here comes that flame spitter that we were talking about, Lelouch, in an unrecognizable scenario, as he's going to be pushed out in the early part of this game. Just absolutely smashed as far as early game last time was concerned, but it is still very, very, very early, as it looks like this Lucian's doing a pretty good job. But in jumps the Rek'Sai, the flash and the stun and the pop. Is he able to get out? The ignite is there. Tower damage is going to go through as the first blood, as we thought, going over to UC San Diego.
And that's what we were talking about. Renekton, very scary early on, jumps on top of an opponent and blows him up. Lucian does not have the sustain or the safety to be able to get away. Ends up burning both his flash and dash just to try and escape from that gank, but overall, really well played by Wace and Jay.
Yeah, and Glovely, I want your expert analytical opinion on this. Who scales better in the later game here? Because we're seeing a bunch of champions that the longer this game goes on, the more powerful they become. Who would you have to give kind of the late game advantage to?
If we're talking about power in the late game, I think the champions that we really need to watch for are Disrespected's Ezreal on the side of UC San Diego, and I also think we need to keep an eye out for both Lelouch and AD Carry on the side of Boise State. All of those champions have great late-game scaling, but some of them are a bit more reliant. We do see that the Root manages to catch out the Yuumi before she's able to jump back on the Disrespectful, so great poke damage being put down by the side of Boise State.
And it looks like Rek'Sai is in the wings waiting to tunnel on in, is going to come through, but it looks like a flash is coming out. The great use of the brush there as AD Carry continues to poke away. Is he going to be able to get out? It does look like it. The Q heal, but the Ignite is there. Another heal to follow is not enough. Again, burned down there by the Ignite. It goes over to the Pretty Kitty itself. And another great rotation there from the side of UC San Diego. Up 3-0 here, and about 1,005 gold at this point.
On top of that, they burned 3 summoners off of Boise State in that engage. We do see Shrubby Turtle maybe having a little bit of connection issue. I certainly understand having that in my ranked games, but 3 summoners burned on the side of Boise State, 2 flashes and a heal, so the only thing they have left up is the barrier on that Senna, and that's not exactly a hugely powerful summoner spell.
It's the Baynock internet, but it is what it is, as it looks like the top lane is kind of circumventing a lot of that pressure that we were talking about there on the bottom side. So a little yin and yang situation here. We have not even seen this Jarvan yet. Meanwhile, Rek'Sai has been smashing all of the lanes from mid to bot and coming back and going into that jungle, probably eyeballing top. But Lelouch is such a difficult target to gank, but it looks like Gelatin there is going to be able to burn quite a bit of that health from Lelouch, who is just able to siphon it back in.
Yeah, these short trades really favor the Rumble. He's able to get a lot of damage out quickly, but over in the long run, Lelouch is going to be able to out-sustain him. So, as far as I'm concerned, the best way to win against a Vladimir is to simply not lane against the Vladimir. You just leave a lane, you go up to the other lanes, and you try and get your advantages there. Just shove the wave, roam to another lane. Shove the wave, roam to another lane. Currently, he hasn't been able to roam. That's one of the downsides of that top lane, so you're very dependent on the teleport. But we do see, unfortunately, looks like Kuga is going to put down a lot of damage on the Thaiga LM. He is going to survive, though, gets out with his life. So with the Dominus is going to be burned there. That ultimate, at least, on cooldown.
Well, as well as the Ignite, which will definitely give him a little bit more breathing room. We've seen great placements here, as it looks like the Demon Cry going to finally head towards the top lane. Equalizer does come out. The Rek'Sai is in. Wanson J is going to be able to find a kill there. Is Lelouch going to be able to follow this up? Not going to happen. Just needed one little kiss of the fist or the blood pool thing, and it would have netted him 1, but it is 2-for-0 exchange in favor of UC San Diego, and they are running away with this early.
Yeah, what looked like a great gank really turned around. There's a reason they call it the Equalizer, because even though that was a dangerous situation, it turned the fight around by dropping it right in the middle of that bush where all of the focus fire would...
But it looks like in jumps the Rek'Sai, and Thigao Lamb is going to be caught out here, but out comes the Equilibrium, as I like to call it. Thigao Lamb, though, destroyed there by Watson J. 6-1 is the difference. 2,500 gold as well in favor of UC San Diego. I do believe I've lost my co-caster, so I'm just going to do this a cappella, I guess, as it looks like the bottom lane here going to be, again, in favor of the side of UC San Diego, but in the top lane, you do have the Flame Spitters coming out. Shrubby Turtle is the only one there, as Caitlyn is going to rotate down as well. Now we see, it looks like this Jarvan actually going to be eyeballing what I believe is the Drake, but Lelouch, again, just so hot being hit by those flames, is able to get out and will be able to kind of resustain this lane on a need-be basis. But it looks like, yes, Jarvan is certainly going for that Drake, so that will help Boise State kind of stave some of the damage they have currently had as far as the lanes are concerned by supplementing it with objective control. So again, one of those things as a jungler, you just need to know, hey, I can't gank losing lanes, but I can pick up a Wind Drake to make our ultimates shorter. And if at any point, Glovely comes back, I'm going to give him the old Marco. He can give me the Polo. As the top laners continue to knock each other around here, it's been in favor of Gelatin, but Lelouch just says it's okay. I'm just going to eat one of these guys. My health is back to 50. I'm feeling pretty confident. And the CS is a very telling sign for the side of that top lane, as well as a 10 CS lead in the top, as well as the Orb. Now that those healing moves are going to be penetrated through, as the Flame Spitter once again comes out, a rocket or two, going into the ground. Equalizer comes up, and Lelouch is going to be able to heal just a little bit, but the Equalizer was in such a great place. Flame Spitter to follow, and it is a completely different tale this time around as Lelouch is down 0 and 2. In comes the ultimate from Yumi, going to lock down the Boise State Senna as she is going to try to peel out of there, but in comes the shift, and now Chevy Turtle 01 going to use the ult. Wason J is going to find the Caitlyn, and not enough to help the damage there, as it looks like Senna falls in the process, and Boise State is losing grip here, and that gold lead is creeping towards 5,000 here at that point, 17,000 to 12,000, as again, Boise State just getting kind of throttled all over the place. The plates coming down here, but UC San Diego and this Rek'Sai 4-0 and 2, everywhere you want to be, in the lanes, in the jungle. The only thing they have not capitalized on is the Air Drake, and I do believe I've got my Glovely back.
Yeah, sorry about that little blip there in our connection, but I am now back. Didn't miss too much. It looks like I did miss a bit. UC San Diego now 9 and 1 here on these eliminations.
Yeah, you jinxed yourself. You said, oh man, I know what it's like to disconnect. And then you yourself did just the same. Oh, look at that! I jinxed it a second time, as it looks like the Senna's gonna reconnect again. But what you missed is this Rek'Sai absolutely running rampant on the side of Boise State University. A flash is used, as it looks like Rek'Sai jumping in on the bottom side as well. No kills exchanged. Lelouch being pushed back underneath his tower here, as the shot after Flame Spitter, even the tower does not scare this good old gelatin. It's Jello, it's alive.
Yeah, one of the nice things about the Rumble-Vladimir matchup is the fact that Vladimir is really reliant on his healing to really be a huge presence in this lane. We do see an engagement in the mid lane. Baga Lem does take out Kuga, so that's going to be some gold back in his pocket. I see now that he is starting to pressure that lane and does have his build Water Cutlass and is going to hopefully carry that pressure with his team for the rest of the game. But talking about that top lane matchup, one of the great things about it for Rumble is that he can build that Morellonomicon really quickly. It's basically what his first item would be anyway, but now he gets the healing reduction against the Vladimir, so he turns into this lane bully. 3-0 and 1 on Rumble.
And there's been some debate right now as far as healing being out of control and Grievous Wounds not doing enough. But we are seeing it pay dividends here, like you mentioned. Not only picking up the Morellonomicon, but he's got his boots. He's going to be in and out of lane. He's going to be rotating to other places. He's now capable of being mobile and not necessarily having to use a teleport to do so. As you see him warding up on the Rift Herald side, but an ultimate there from the Cat is going to allow for Boise State to get absolutely eviscerated. Pick up there from both the jungler and ADC of UC San Diego.
It's what we were talking about. Boise State doesn't have any tools for disengaging or escaping from these. And now that Rumble is able to put pressure on the top lane, they don't have the ability to just force San Diego to back away. They don't have the ability to kite them back. Now Baga Lamb being jumped on by two members. Flash does come out, gets the stun down. Baga Lamb drops trolling, but he's going to get cold himself. Wasted J picks up the kill and is dominating.
This could be a multiple lane ace if Lelouch is not careful, but we have seen it time and time again as Koga has been able to lock down the Lucian. The culling basically tickled them shot by shot, and again, that Rek'Sai got from bottom to mid so unbelievably fast. And Lelouch is going to take a serious amount of damage here, is able to, oh well, get equalized out? No, the Flash, very crafty there, but that's kind of a, I'll say like bronze medal, especially considering what the current situation is. And Rift Herald picked up another plate going down on the top side, and now Boise State falling farther and farther behind as that gold lead creeps towards about 7,000.
Yeah, Wason J not even going to drop it quite yet. They could drop it in the top lane, but they know that if they end the...
Yes, that if they end whatever you were talking about, then yes, that might be an issue. So the 80 carry gotta get poked out there from the Cat again, as Yumi is just doing a great job zoning. The ultimates have been on point as well, and Boise State just kind of struggling right now. The Demon Cry, it's gonna be found out by a nice little cue there from the Ezreal. headed down into the enclave, if you will. But it looks like more aggression here in the mid lane. They are going to gun after this Lucian. Flag and Drag is good. Teleport from the top lane is coming down, and Boise State is turning tail at this point. A flash, and the Q heal is good. In comes the Arcane Barrage, but it doesn't hit the intended target. But it is enough to zone out Boise State as this Rumble is going to move down. The ultimate coming through from the Yuumi is not quite enough, but it is enough to push out Boise State. The barrier coming through. The heals from Senna are trying to do what they can, the shield as well, but it is just too little, too late. Lelouch give it a little bit of breathing room, but it's only because that teleport was expended from not only Lelouch, but Gelatin there into the bottom lane. What Lelouch did was try to get back, tried to stabilize the bleeding, no pun intended, and Gelatin was able to go make an influence on the bottom side. What ended up being a setup gank from the Jarvan ended up being thwarted by one simple teleport, so you take those if you are so worried about it. Dragon is up, and it does look like Rek'Sai is moving down that way. Jarvan should be there to see that this is a possibility. Ping's coming out as bottom lane is going to peel back. Jarvan does not think that he can do anything about this, so Thigao Lamb is going to need to be super careful as well. And Ocean going over to San Diego State.
Yeah, we do see that Thigao Lamb does have the CS advantage here in this mid lane, which is what you expect when you're going ranged into melee. But every time he wants to push up, Lucian doesn't have a huge amount of range, one of the trade-offs for his incredible mobility, and that means that he's always pushed up very far. It's very easy to gank him, especially if he continues to shove waves into these towers. Looks like he's going to back off now, so Wason J going to find out some wards before backing away.
Boise State, a little bit of a different story this time around as they absolutely steamrolled their last opponent, struggling a lot this time around as UC San Diego can do nothing wrong at this point. Again, the only demerit on their record being an Ocean Drake, or sorry, Air Drake in the early parts of these games. Still far dominant in every lane, and the creep score tells that story as well. Mid lane being the only favorable one for the side of Boise State. That's kind of what you would expect from the ranged melee matchup, but we do have a jungle engage here as Wason J is going to find the Demon Cry. Here comes the ult, he can't get away from that as Wason J is going to find it another, and the stun is down, and the Q is good, and there's a lot of damage there. Disrespectful is going to be just that. Here comes the tower collapse, Lelouch trying to stay alive. What good old Gelatin does what Gelatin's been doing. A beautiful Arcane Barrage finds the Senna, a double kill on the bottom side.
Yeah, the only champion who was able to walk out of that was Thigao Lamb Lucian, and only because Renekton didn't really engage into a fight on top of him. So much pressure now going over the side of San Diego as they take two towers within milliseconds of each other.
It's like a bicycle made for two. If Boise State can find some way back into this game, what would it be, Glovely? Is it just capitalizing on maybe 1 or 2 kills and collecting those bounties? Do they continue to prioritize some of these objectives? What do you think makes it so Boise State could possibly claw their way back into this?
I think there's a lot of weight on the shoulders of the Demon Pride on this Jarvan. He's really the only champion on their team that has strong engagement potential. He needs to be the one to initiate these fights. It looks like he is trying to find something in the mid lane. Set up Thigao Lamb. This Lucian is the one who's furthest ahead on his team, so it could be the best one to go in. Isn't able to find an entrance though, so you see San Diego doing a great job using this tempered aggression, not going in too hard, because otherwise you could get yourself caught out and send a lot of gold over to the other team.
You are now seeing about a 10,000 gold difference between these two teams. Not that we haven't seen a team come back from that kind of a deficit, but it is unbelievably difficult, and I agree with you, Glovely. If Boise State can find some way, it might be the Demon Cry as he is coming up against this Rumble. Equalizer comes through, he's going to burn the stopwatch there, so he'll be able to go a little bit golden. The flash is out, as it looks like Gelatin is going to get a little greedy here, but instead is going to find the kill, as Lelouch gets chilling smited and now popped up and thrown around and thrashed about. The ultimate as well is going to be negated there by the pool, so a great move, but just too little, too late. Mason J is now 8-0-3. What a stellar set for this jungler on the side of UC San Diego.
Yeah, Rek'Sai has incredible mobility, and I think that's what's given UC San Diego the edge here in tempo, because she doesn't have to worry about using mana costs to be able to get from lane to lane. can bypass a lot of just by dropping down a tunnel and then reusing those tunnels later if Boise State doesn't clear them out. And of course, it's hard to do that when all of the lanes are now pushed in the favor of the opposing team. It's hard to get into the opposing jungle.
Yeah, all outers are going to fall here, or have fallen for that matter. Another stellar ultimate from San Diego. Is it going to be enough? No! Lucian is able to get out of there with just the skin of his teeth, I guess you could say, as the Demon Cried is just going to walk into lane and get chunked out 50% plus immediately. And Boise State is trying to find a way around this as mid lane is going to fall. Those shifts from the Ezreal, enough barrier coming through, and that Q almost spelled demise for AD carry.
Yeah, thankfully no true shot barrage, so not going to be able to follow up on that for the elimination, but is able to put out a lot of pressure. Ezreal now, both of his two major items, so he's hit his mid-game power spike here. Tiger Lamb now going to try and engage on, loses a lot of health, but the Ignite comes out. Disrespectful does get shut down. They get the Yuumi as well. This could be disastrous. Wasting Jay now, if they manage to get this elimination, it could be crucial. There's the ultimate, does come out. Is he going to pick it up? They're going to give it over to Tiger Lamb, who's now 4-4-1. This could be the turnaround. Now he's picked up 3 shutdowns in one fight.
Yeah, Boise State will now be able to collapse on a tower at the very least. They could rotate down towards the dragon if they so choose as well. The smite is up, but the jungler is down. 3 ADCs, though, can put a little bit of a punch on a dragon, and like I said, there it is. And especially that Infernal, allowing them to do extra damage. Now they just need to be aware of the overall, I guess, line of scrimmage. They need to set up good vision. They need to be able to zone out the individuals who have been knocking on their door since minute number 1, and they need to find a way to shut down Disrespectful as well, who now has the Trinity on top of the Manamura and is able to pump out loads of damage that we have seen from minute 1. So Boise State showing signs of life, showing that they're capable of possibly doing something, as instead of getting the towers, they opt for the more permanent buff known as the Inferno Drake.
Yeah, it is something that was mentioned in Doc's keys to the game, is picking fights that favor you. Don't pick a fair fight, because if you pick a fair fight and you lose it, well, now the enemy team has an advantage. You pick a fight that's unfair, you're more likely to win it just because you have better members or better cooldowns. But we do see an engagement of the Demon Pride. Flash just come out. There's the smite slowed down. Wasted Jay gonna pick up the elimination. This is not a fair fight in favor of Boise State.
Just unfortunately was sitting on top of that ward that you see right there, as UC San Diego was eyeballing the Baron here, and just unfortunate timing, unfortunate place, a great ward, if you will, and UC San Diego will continue to pressure this massive objective. Boise State needs to do something, but I don't believe they can really do anything about this. Rumble crashing on that bottom turret, does not even need to be here for Baron fight, as Caitlyn is trying to crash on the mid. She needs to watch out. There are 4 very hungry members coming her way. Oh, by the way, Gelatin is just melting this Senna. You're going to try to get out. This Thigao Lamb going to continue to put damage down. The Culling is out, and they are going to turn that around. Thigao Lamb shows up and just the nick of time to save that secondary lover's leg.
And that was the unfair fight they needed, having a super one. Unfortunately, Wasting Jay has cut out AD carry. That's definitely not something you want. He isn't able to flash away. True Shot Barrage ensures 2 eliminations, however, and Thigao Lamb now outnumbered and outdone.
Well, they had a great play, and then they got great played on that great play. It's like great playception, if you will, as Boise State was able to turn the fight around, but then again, just a great movement there. Unfortunately, Caitlyn, AD carry, gets caught out on this massive 11-1 Rek'Sai, as it looks like Shelly here going to just smash here not only the bottom inhibitor turret, but the inhibitor itself. Will we have a secondary Shelly dance? I'm not entirely sure, but it's looking pretty dismal for the side of Boise State. Disrespectful goes on in, and Shelly is going to destroy that bottom Nexus turret, as it looks like Disrespectful with the Baron buff fears nobody. The teleport is coming in, so you're going to see this Rumble jump in, as well as just, it looks like this could be the death knell for Boise State University. 3 members up against the 5 from UC San Diego. Equalizer comes in. Drifted is going to find that one there. The support wants to get in on the action as well. Nexus at 50%. Disrespectful picks up the Jarvan there, and double kill, and the round over to UC San San Diego.
Overall, Boise State really struggled with finding their opportunities to pick their fights because they only had one champion who had the potential to engage. As a result, UC San Diego is going to be the ones who move on. So congratulations to UC San Diego on their victory.
Yeah, a little bit of a flip of the script as far as Boise State is concerned. I have a feeling that the draft alone was a little bit of a hamstring maneuver, if you will. Just didn't really have any way to play around not only the Renekton that just basically gobbled up the Lucian, but you take a look at the way that the Rumble just was able to run over that Vladimir, and then the bottom side just got out of control. Also having a Rek'Sai who's like 8-0-5, feels good, man, if you're on the side of UC San Diego anyways. So, again, congratulations, UC San Diego. Boise State will fall there. And, you know what, Glovely? I believe that's going to be pretty much it from us. What did you learn today?
Today I learned that when you're looking at your champion select, you got to play for more than just the lanes. You got to remember that your team composition either needs to be able to pick where your fights are or to deny the enemy's ability to pick your fights.
Absolutely. And as far as, I guess, what I learned, play more Rek'Sai, because that champion gets out of control so fast. And I guess the same could be said for the Fiora. I feel like those were the two standout champions that we saw today, that once they get rolling, it doesn't gather moss. So at that point, very, very strong showings all over the place. Again, congratulations to UC San Diego for their pick up here. I'm not... Okay, well, it looks like we're going to have... I'm sorry, I thought we were done for the evening, but I am incorrect. Okay, so there is a game against Bay State that will be shown here in the very near future, and it's just going to be absolutely amazing here. We love you guys so much. Thank you for coming on out. Glovely, you're amazing. Thank you so much for coming on out today, man.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me on.
And thank you guys so much for stopping on in. Big thank you to production as well. Be sure to stick around as Boise State will take on Bay State here in the very near future. I'm Adam Chizu McGuire, and that is Daniel Glovely Clock. Thank you so much for stopping on by.